Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a pretty good show for you tonight. Right next to me is Mr. Eric Llewellyn. Hey, Eric. Epic Eric, I might add.
Thank you.
And over in the wings is Mr. John Cornett, ready to play some tunes. Hey, John.
Yeah, I offered to loan Eric my purple glasses, but he said
They would
no.
match, wouldn't
He
they?
said no.
My youngest boy loves purple. He likes dressing purple. Purple shoes.
My wife picked out my shirt.
Okay, so you're passing the buck, that's okay. But we have a pretty short little newscast. It's heavy on science and medical marijuana tonight, and a lot of different video clips, so stay tuned as we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Tonight's first story is from Englewood, New Jersey. Cannabis exposures associated with lower instances of atrial fibrillation or arrhythmia in patients hospitalized for heart failure, according to data published in the American Journal of Cardiology. A team of investigators from Seton Hall University, the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and others addressed the relationship between cannabis exposure and atrial fibrillation in a cohort of nearly 4 million patients hospitalized in 2014 for heart failure. Compared to matched controls, quote, cannabis users have lower odds of atrial fibrillation than do non-users, which was not explained by comorbid conditions, age, insurance, or socioeconomic status, end quote, the authors concluded. A prior analysis by a team similarly reported that cannabis exposure lowered the risk of atrial fibrillation and also reduced in-hospital mortality in heart failure patients. Other studies have similarly reported that marijuana-exposed patients are less likely than non-users to die when hospitalized for burns and forms of other trauma and severe trauma, certain types of orthopedic surgeries, and traumatic brain injury. Full text of this study, Relation of Cannabis Use and Atrial Fibrillation Among Patients Hospitalized for Heart Failure, appears in this month's edition of American Journal of Cardiology. Our next story is from Rochester, New York. Patients enrolled in New York State's medical cannabis program reduce their use of opioids and spend less money on prescription medications, according to data published online in the journal Mental Health Clinician. Investigators from GPI Clinical Research Labs in Rochester and the University of Buffalo assessed trends in patients' medical cannabis and prescription drug use following their enrollment in New York State's Medical Marijuana Access Program. On average, subjects' monthly analgesic prescription costs declined by 32% following enrollment, primarily due to the reduction in the use of opioid pills and fentanyl patches. Study authors wrote, quote, after 3 months treatment, medical cannabis improved subjects' quality of life, reduced pain and opioid use, and lead to cost savings, end quote, the authors concluded. The study's findings are similar to those reported among enrollees in other states' medical cannabis programs, including the experiences of patients in Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, New Mexico, and elsewhere. The full text of this study, preliminary evaluation of efficacy and cost and safety associated with the treatment of chronic pain with medical cannabis, appears in this month's edition of the Mental Health Clinician. Our last story tonight is from Tel Aviv in Israel. The adjunctive use of CBD extracts is safe and effective in adolescent patients with refractory epilepsy, according to clinical data published in the Journal of Brain and Development. Israeli researchers assessed the sustained daily use of extracted CBD oils in a cohort of young patients with treatment-resistant epilepsy. 35% of the participants experienced a reduction in mean monthly seizure frequency of 75% or greater following CBD treatment. 41% of the patients either partially or completely tapered their use of anti-epileptic drugs during the study period due to improvements in their condition. Patients who were younger than 10 years of age at treatment onset experienced higher improvement rates compared to older subjects. The most commonly reported adverse side effect of CBD treatment was being tired, somnolence, which was reported in 14% of the patients. The authors concluded, quote, "In concordance with recent encouraging evidence, this open-label study using parental report showed that CBD-enriched cannabis extracts appear to have potential anti-seizure effect as an add-on treatment in pediatric patients with refractory epilepsy with favorable safety profile," end quote. Findings are similar to those of other recent trials, reporting that the use of CBD extracts reduces seizure frequency and improves other symptoms of epilepsy. The regulators at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, are anticipated to grant market approval this summer to a proprietary formulation of CBD oil known as Epidiolex from GW Pharmaceuticals for the treatment of Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, two types of severe pediatric epilepsy. This study, Efficacy of CBD-enriched medical cannabis for treatment of refractory epilepsy in children and adolescents, an observational longitudinal study, appears in Brain and Development. And that is the end of our hemp news segment tonight, heavy on the medical journal articles. And Mr. John Cornett standing by in the wings, ready to sing a song. Hey, John, welcome back.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? You know, I'm
Pretty
a
well.
living study.
You're doing your own personal study on treatment of your
actually,
seizure condition.
My CBD, which I happen to grow the plant, this I'm using catatonic and harlequin 4s, and it's pretty high in CBDs. And my doctor at OHSU has prescribed it. And as a matter of fact, my oxcarbazepine, which is really messing up my head right now, and causing
That's
me
a pharmaceutical?
Yeah, I'm only taking half of the recommended dosage because I'm also doing the CBD treatment.
So you're able to reduce it just like this study showed
Just
in,
like it
in
showed.
children.
I'm a living example of. I haven't had a seizure now in about 4 months, and that's, boy, I can get on my knees and thank God for this plant. 5. Judy says 5. Okay, so I stand corrected. Anyway, this little song about what we should all be doing, I think. I don't mean to tell people what to do, but I'm going to follow my own advice. It goes like this. I think John Prine wrote this song. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All I need is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless the seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds, picking stones, man is made of dreams and bones. Feel the need to grow my own, 'cause the time is close at hand. Grain for grain, earth and rain, to my body and my brain. Find my way in nature's chain to the music of the land. Plant your rows straight and long, temper them with prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care. Or crow watching hungrily from his perch in yonder tree. In my garden I'm as free as that feathered thief up there. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All I need is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone plants the seeds I sow. Someone warmed them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
All right, Mr. John Cornett.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, stick them in the ground, water them down.
It's that time of year, isn't it?
Yes, it
It's
is.
time for us to put the plants out. There's enough daylight now that they won't start flowering.
Yes.
If you put your plants out even earlier than this, they probably will start budding. And it'll take 3 or 4 weeks for that to really show. And it'll take about another 3 or 5 weeks for it to come back into vegetative growth again. But you can put them out early if you add a little light. Even a low intensity compact fluorescent light will stop that. How are you doing, Eric?
Good, how you doing, brother?
Very well, very well. We are taking your phone calls and questions tonight. If you have any questions for us, you can call that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We'll be taking your calls, and we do have a studio audience. So the studio audience is free to come up and use the microphone and ask questions as well.
I actually have one right there.
Hey, there's one. Go right ahead, sir.
Paul, I want to let you know I really appreciate your show. It's a
Thank
great
you.
show and all you've done for the industry here in Oregon.
Thank you.
We need more people like you. My question is, what do we expect for the medical marijuana in Oregon here? It seems like it's a waste of money for me to buy my card. I had a real hard time getting a grower. My allowance seems to have gone down to a lot less than I need. If I'm correct, I read not too long ago, Oregon produced 3 times the amount of marijuana it really needed.
That's right.
So why, with the doctor's excuse to have that, am I having a hard time getting it when there's so much around?
You know, it doesn't make any sense. We had an old friend of mine, John Sajo, who's been a political activist here for a long time and worked for marijuana law reform, saying that, you know, there's almost three times more marijuana in storage right now than was consumed in the recreational marijuana system last year. So last year they said about 350,000 tons of marijuana was sold to people through the adult recreational stores, or 350,000 pounds. So there are about 1 million pounds in storage. So if we took 10% of that 1 million pounds and gave each patient 2 pounds, that would only use about 10% of the surplus. But instead, the state has jacked up the price. What costs $25 in Hawaii and $35 in Montana, here in Oregon can cost $200 or even $400 if you name someone else as a grower. And that's just cost prohibitive. Why is the state charging us so much and then taking money from the sick and dying and giving it to take care of the rest of the health population? It seems like taxing medical marijuana patients with this outrageous fee is is wrong. Don't you agree?
It's sad, yeah.
I know we had an issue where I've been you and your wife's caregiver for a number of years, and there was a fee that came up that didn't get paid for extra $200 for the grower fee.
It's ridiculous for
And
those
then
people.
if you don't pay the $200 within 2 weeks, they add an extra $100 to refile it. So then it's $300. So it literally costs $500 a year just to enroll in the program. And then they limit the amount of adult use recreational plants you can grow inside the city limits, I've heard here the past few days. And so we need to change that. There's a new Oregon Cannabis Commission. We will be talking about writing letters to legislators. Now is a critical time to talk to people who are running for the state legislature. You know, they are running for office. The primary ballots have to be in no later than Tuesday in our mail-in ballot system here in Oregon. And there's going to be the main election come November. So now is the perfect time to ask legislators how they feel about what's happened to medical marijuana patients. And we're going to talk about a campaign to write legislators to help medical marijuana patients and help establish social use clubs where people can go and use cannabis in a social atmosphere, which currently has been denied in Oregon because of indoor clean air laws. So we'll be talking about that next week. What do you think about the way it's impacted you? I mean,
I personally, I feel it's horrible impact. I'm obviously I'm disabled. I'm limited income, so with all the medical that where they're docking it so you can't have your own growers because you can't afford it, but then they're also driving you out to where you have to go to a recreational dispensary where if you're on limited income you can't afford that either. So there's no way for us medical patients to be getting our medicine right now. It's horrible.
yeah, I think so as well. We have a question in the studio audience as well. Go right ahead, Judy.
Hi, it was the medical news that had me wanting to make a comment and ask a question, but really this is the subject of the hour for us medical patients in Oregon. And those of us that participate in government as much as we can understand that we do not exist in a vacuum. Our state has enormous budget problems, and they've been trying in all sorts of ways to get things passed, to get things done, and trying to, help the poorest people have medical care. And a lot of these things we have been told by our senator, our state senator, as well as our
Who is
representative.
your state senator? Out
Chuck
in
Riley.
Forest Grove, right?
Chuck Riley, yeah. Chuck
Riley.
And
And he's a Democrat or a Republican?
Democrats. We have both Democrats. I don't know that that's relative, but they're both supportive. They're both absolutely supportive, and we have known Chuck for some time. Chuck's a very experienced senator. But a lot of these fees and things that are being done to us are not things that they ever see to vote on. They come out of the commissions and the boards and things. So
it seems to me, and maybe you can talk about this, Judy, that they are mainly reacting to input from law enforcement and from the dispensary and licensees in the OLC system who want to cut medical out so that they can get that business. Medical patients use more marijuana on average than recreational patients do, and so these recreational licensees are lobbying the legislature to make it more difficult for patients. Have you had any feedback on that?
We know that there is no question that because of well-meaning, I think in large part, mistakes that Salem has made in laws that have been passed and taxing and who's allowed to do what. We passed Measure 91, and then they completely dismantled our medical program.
Right.
And then went on to put into place the most obscenely restrictive and also counterproductive program. But again, we come back to this, we don't exist in a vacuum. We have tremendous cash flow problems in our state, like many other states. And so we have to work with that. I think about, yes, absolutely, how disappointed I am on a regular basis, even with activists that are not even familiar with their representatives, let alone acting with them. But more than that, I think we have the Cannabis Commission now. We have the Cannabis Commission.
Right.
And
we've had a couple of, Anthony
Taylor,
who's on that commission with Compassionate Oregonians, and I've worked with Janice Knox, who is also on that board.
But there are others, and I'm thinking right now, maybe I'd sure like to hear your opinion about this. Maybe we need to be getting to know the others that are on the board, because it represents across the board, including industry and law enforcement and everything, that we need to get to know them and be in touch with them too, because they are now our people.
I know that Anthony's intention, Anthony Taylor, who's on that board and the director of Compassionate Oregonians and a guest on our show, has said that his goal is to increase registration in the program. The program reached a high of about 77,000 patients about 2.5 years ago. And then, since then, it's dropped down to about 48,000 right now. Anthony Taylor says he's aiming to get that up to 250,000 patients within the next 5 years. But they're going to have to change this licensing system. Cannabis has been over-regulated, and part of it has to do with federal law and diversion to illicit markets out of state. But we need to to teach our legislators, and it's really the Cannabis Commission set up to help medical patients is still in its startup phase, and it's yet to be determined how effective it is. There have been other commissions around medical marijuana in the past that the health division completely ignored everything they said. So we need to go directly to our legislators, and there is an activist by the name of Matthew Mendoza who has a petition out there specifically to help patients. It's the Oregon, and directed at the Oregon Cannabis Commission, but should also go to our state legislators. But now is the time to talk to them as they're running for office. They're going to be out in the community. If they really support us and you can afford it, give a little donation. If you can't afford it, take their literature and hand it out for them, or get involved in their campaign and tell them how much this medical marijuana program in Oregon means to you and how they could implement changes to make it more patient friendly. We shouldn't be taxing sick and dying patients. That's what I think.
You should be getting it for free all the way around.
Yeah, like I've been giving it to you and your wife
Few years now, yeah.
thousands of patients.
Yes.
So we have that petition. If you'd like more information about that petition, give us a call at that number. Well, this other number that'll pop up on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. Also, if you or a loved one are qualifying for medical marijuana and you're looking for a doctor to help you get a state permit, not just in Oregon, but in Washington and the rest of the country, we have a physician referral service. So if you have any of these conditions, give us a call at that same number. It's 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. I'm going to change gears on us. A lot of our friends around the world have been, over the past month, pulled from YouTube. They have had their YouTube videos taken off of YouTube. And YouTube, of course, is the most popular video streaming site in the world. And this has had a major impact on a lot of different marijuana-oriented businesses. We have our friend Jorge Cervantes. And here's his page talking about that. And he put this video up complaining that all of his videos were taken down. And if you click on the video, it tells you, oh, this channel is no longer available. Well, we would play his videos every week directly from that YouTube channel. And now YouTube is taking it off. And they're taking off others. I just saw that Greenhouse Seeds in Amsterdam and Europe and all over the world as well, the producers of the video series Strain Hunters, they have had all of their videos taken off, as has Marijuana Television out of Barcelona, Spain, and many, many others. So they haven't taken ours down yet. I've been on YouTube since it started, really. We're had the original producer status there at YouTube. And actually, we were streaming on our own streaming video server for about a decade before YouTube even started. But we switched over to YouTube because it's cheaper than running your own video server. And so far, we haven't lost any of our videos. But people like our friend Jorge Cervantes will be in town sometime in the next couple of weeks and back on the show. And other friends around the world have had their videos taken down. So I urge you to support the video outlets out there. And we haven't come up with a specific way to target them. But you know, other people are starting to post Jorge Cervantes videos himself. In fact, Jorge Cervantes used to camouflage himself because it was illegal, right? And so some of these old videos are popping up across the internet on hundreds of different sites that are protesting this move by YouTube to take down marijuana-related video sites. And we're going to run one of those videos right now. We'll be back in just a moment.
Whether cultivated indoors or outdoors, hydroponically or in soil, cannabis requires light, air, water, nutrients, a growing medium, and heat to manufacture food and to grow. For optimum growth, the light must be of the proper spectrum, intensity, and duration. Air must be warm, arid, and rich in carbon dioxide. Water must be abundant but not excessive, and the growing medium must contain the proper levels of nutrients. In this DVD, relying on my decades of experience, both as a writer and grower, I'll teach you how to manage these processes and keep your garden productive, efficient, and green. In nature, cannabis is an annual plant, completing its life cycle in 1 year. A seed planted in the spring will grow strong and tall through the summer and flower in the fall. The annual cycle starts all over again when the seeds sprout the following year and includes 4 distinct growth stages. During germination, moisture, heat, and air activate hormones within the durable outer coating of the seed. Soon, the seed's coating splits, a rootlet grows downward, and a sprout with seed leaves pushes upward in search of light. The tiny seed will have to develop into a self-sufficient seedling quickly if it expects to flourish in the outside world. Seedlings require 16 to 18 hours of light to maintain strong, healthy growth. Vegetative growth lasts from the moment a clone or seedling takes root until that same plant matures enough to begin producing buds. Cannabis plants will remain in this vegetative state for as long as they receive 16 to 24 hours of light per day. Cannabis flowers when the days become shorter and plants are signaled that the annual life cycle is coming to an end. This occurs naturally outdoors in the autumn, but must be regulated indoors by the grower. Flowering is triggered by giving plants 12 hours of uninterrupted darkness and 12 hours of light. When fertilized with male pollen, female flowers will produce seeds at this point in the life cycle, but left unpollinated, a seedless or sinsemilla crop will grow. Later in the DVD, I'll explain sinsemilla growing along with other basic techniques growers use to increase the yield and efficiency in their gardens, including a process called cloning, which guarantees all your plants will be females. Also, we'll show you the best methods for taking your fully grown buds through the harvesting process of cutting, trimming, drying, and curing that will ensure the grass that you grow in your own garden can compete with the best smoke in the world. Invest a day of your time, a little bit of money, and you can grow buds just like this. Hi, how you doing today? I brought you into this little garden that was put together by a grower in a single day. It can also be taken down in less than a day if need be. You can make a garden just like this one and put it together just like this grower did in one single day. Come with me and find out how. Here we are inside of an 8x8 grow room, or what's about to be. What we've done is we've framed up the bottom with 2x3s, and we'll build a complete 8x8 grow room right in front of you. The best location for a grow room is in an obscure corner of a basement, where it's easy to maintain a constant temperature year-round. Basements are well insulated by concrete walls and soil. An attic is also a good location, except for the possible heat buildup. Few people venture into an attic that is difficult to access. Outbuildings, garages, and barns not attached to homes are some of the worst places to grow cannabis. Security is much easier to maintain when the garden is within the home. Productive growers have 2 distinct rooms within their grow operation: a vegetative cloning room and a much larger room for flowering plants. As the Trailer Park Boys from Canada can tell you, some of the best pot in the world grows in trailers.
I want my kitty. Frig off, Bubbles. You gave me the cat. I didn't say you could keep him.
The Trailer Park Boys. That's a Canadian institution that most Americans would not be very familiar with, probably. Have you ever heard of them?
I actually have. Yeah, I got 2 young boys.
Oh, they like them?
They're into that. Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. Yeah. Anyway, if you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. And we'll be happy to take your questions and calls. So we were talking that the city of Portland has lifted the ban on social cannabis clubs.
Yep, they're allowing it. They still have to be a privately functioned to where you have to be a member, 21 or older to get in. But they're saying that the fight, people are able to purchase it and they need a place to smoke it.
Right.
And so they're lifting it. They're saying,
So just tonight, I was over with Madeline Martinez and her husband Raphael and Chris Conrad and Mickey Norris. Chris has written many books about cannabis, and a number of other people at Leia's Tea House, which is right next to the Cannabis Corner
right now,
at 72nd and Holgate.
now known as the Flight Lounge.
It's the Flight Lounge.
Flight Lounge. That's actually who I got the information from. She's been doing her thing as the Tea House, and then all of a sudden now she can be known out there as the Flight Lounge.
And I guess Chris Conrad, Mickey Norris are over there right now,
Nice. Go
having a
check 'em
little
out,
get together. If you,
$5.
I don't know how late they'll be.
$5 membership fee. They're usually open till 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there.
Yeah, get in on it. It's good times. Go recreate with your friends.
Yep. So hopefully there'll be a lot more of those in the coming days
Right.
and weeks now that the city has changed the law.
Well, we need them. I mean, with the, people not able to smoke, of course, in public, or, if you're renting a place, you can't smoke at a rented establishment. And there's just so many laws of where you can't be to partake and use.
Right.
We need those places.
I know in California, the legislature passed a bill to ban marijuana use in public parks and state parks and beaches. And Governor Jerry Brown vetoed that, saying that it is our God-given right to smoke a joint on the beach and enjoy the sunset or any other beach experience.
I would kind of agree. You got those
Yeah.
cigarette smokers out there that can light their cigarettes up. Granted, 10 feet from a doorway, but you're walking down your sidewalk smoking a cigarette. Why can't we smoke a joint?
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It is. It is. So do we have another video ready to go here? Okay, we'll run this video and we'll be back in just a moment, so stay tuned.
The main change that's occurring in the brain with aging, and we see it in humans, we see it in rats, is that there's a development of what you might call inflammation. It's a lot like what happens when you're injured, but in this case it happens in the brain. Up until a few years ago, we weren't even aware that inflammation developed in the brain. Now we see that it's in the background of a lot of diseases. What I've discovered is that marijuana, or at least a particular component of it, what we call a cannabinoid, is the component of the plant that when in the brain, at very low levels, is able to reduce this brain inflammation. I'm incredibly excited about it because this is the first time we've ever had a compound that actually works in the old brain. Everything works in a young brain, but this is working in an old brain. So this means that if you're 60, 70, and you're having some problems with mental decline, we might have a mechanism that could target that. You can use very, very low doses. We're talking about the equivalent of 1 puff of a marijuana cigarette per day, just one. Now, this isn't something that's likely to produce the euphoria of the high. And we think we might be able to go lower doses. So this is just the beginning of what we think we'll sort of uncover as we continue to investigate this line of research. So our thinking is that you might actually take this medication via a patch, so you wouldn't actually have to inhale any, cancerous smoke. You wouldn't have to, prepare the cigarettes. We could get around all of those behaviors that some people find unpleasant, especially in the elderly. I would like to be able to find what we call a magic bullet that would be able to reduce the inflammation and its consequences on your mental function without having to raise the specter of it being a drug of abuse. Having the 4 to 5 cups a day minimum for about 2 years, so a period of time where you're bathing your brain regularly in this chemical and whatever else is in the coffee, is neuroprotective. It prevents the death of neurons whose death leads to Parkinson's disease. Simply take in fewer calories. We're not even sure it matters which calories you take out. Just, you've heard about various diets, don't eat carbs or proteins or sugars. As far as we can tell, just don't eat so many calories. Try and get a balanced diet. Mom's advice was right on. Eat a little bit of everything every day and, don't focus on one thing. Just don't eat so much. That has been the most effective anti-aging therapy that anyone's ever, described in animals or humans.
Your brain on food. That's something that everybody's got to have. I've been trying to eat less myself and lost some weight. Still need to lose some more.
You're doing really good. I'm gonna say we did that march this last weekend, the Cannabis March, and you were right up in front that whole time, leading your people.
It's well, you know, it's our people, really.
Okay,
I don't want to
enough.
pretend they're my people,
You
but
brought
it's
us
our
this far, though.
tribe.
All these
I've
people over here, you helped us all right here, Paul.
I know.
So,
I know. I appreciate that. You know, I was there have been years past where I dropped out and jumped on the tracking bus at the back because I was kind of tired. But I've dropped 130 pounds so far. Like I said, I have another 80 or 90 more to go. So
you're doing good.
maybe by this time next year, or we'll see. I'm working on it. But
I'd like to see you right side by side next March too.
Oh, I'll
right
hopefully be doing better. And
Right
I've
up in
also,
front.
for the first time since I was 30 and younger, I've started working out a little bit. I've been
Nice.
doing the treadmill and the exercise bike and feeling a little bit better. I could stay up on the march.
Good.
Up with your chair.
Right? Yeah, you were keeping up. There was a couple tops where you actually stepping up ahead of me too. So.
But if you put that thing in full gear, it flies.
Yeah, right,
I'd have to really run to try to keep up with that. That's for sure. Anyway, we do have more videos, I believe, that we're going to be ready to run. If you have a question or comment, you know, we've noticed that our phone calls have really dropped off here. We don't know if it's less people are watching TV, less people, you know, and we've started streaming on our 700,000 strong Facebook page. You might be watching out there on Facebook. I don't have the Facebook app on my phone, so I can't watch it live, but I can check in and see what the comments are afterwards. But I don't like what that app does to my phone. It just takes over and
Bogs
sends
you down
me,
a little bit?
Huh?
Bogs it down a
Yeah,
little bit, huh?
it does. So I don't like that. I've had it a couple of times and I had to uninstall it because I wasn't happy with it. So now Facebook will probably punish me for saying that, but we'll have to see. We're going to go back to another Jorge Cervantes video clip from the old days when he wore a disguise. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, I'm framing up a little grow room. Most people won't have to go to this extent, but they'll have to have something similar. So we're building, basically, a mock grow room. Walk up. Okay, now let's measure in between these studs. We're just doing this approximately. And watch the dreadlocks. They can get caught up. I'm putting this on here just to stabilize this stuff. 31 inches. Just quite a bit sturdier than it was before, yeah? And we're ready to start mounting the vent fan. Fresh air is essential in all gardens. Outdoor air is abundant and packed with carbon dioxide, necessary for plant life. Indoor gardens must be meticulously controlled to replicate the outdoor atmosphere. Air should be able to be evacuated from the room, the entire room, in less than 5 minutes. That means we've got to have an entry for the air and an exit for the air. Vent fans are rated in the amount of air measured in cubic feet per minute they are able to move. Okay, let's understand why we need to evacuate so much air and keep the air flowing through a room. A 10-foot square garden will use from 10 to 50 gallons or more of water every week. Plants transpire most of this water into the air, and if it is left in the grow room, humidity eventually increases to 100%, which causes growth to screech to a halt. It also opens the door for pest and disease attacks. Even if your grow room is in a small closet, you're going to need a vent fan. Right here we've got several different kinds of fans. We've got the propeller fan, which is the inline fan. I like these real well. They're not the most expensive fan, but they work and they work well. Next is the inline fan. What they have is an impeller inside, and this moves air through a duct at a high speed. These things are quiet, well balanced, and I love them. Next is a blower. This is called a squirrel cage blower because it looks like a squirrel cage and it blows out one end. They do move a heck of a lot of air quickly. These are little muffin fans, or computer fans I call them. They move quite a bit of air. They're small. They don't make a lot of noise, but you definitely can't get by with just one. And all of these are vent fans. They move the air from inside the room to outside the room. To install, run the duct the shortest possible distance and keep curves to a minimum. Well, this 6-inch ducting comes about 6 feet through this plastic PVC wall, turns the corner, and goes right into this hole here in the chimney. First it's cleaned with a charcoal filter, then it's vented out this chimney. One of the problems you run into in an indoor grow room is smell. A good exhaust fan, vented outdoors, is the easiest way to keep the house from reeking of fresh marijuana. A deodorizing liquid, ozone generator, activated charcoal filter, or a combination of these will solve fragrance problems. This particular one, fits in a 12-inch duct. You just put this in your ducting, it treats the air, takes out all the smell before it's expelled. And these charcoal filters are great. Around the outside is carbon, and on top of the carbon is a dust filter. The carbon actually absorbs the fragrance of cannabis. Some grow rooms have sufficient air coming in via cracks and holes, but the majority require air to be ushered in with the help of an intake fan. Over here, this is what I've been waiting to see. This hole right here is a hole that comes in, and it's for new air. This is a key place for a thermometer and a barometer. If the air comes into the room too cold, say lower than 60 degrees, you're going to have problems. It's going to make your plants feel bad. We don't want them to feel bad now, do we? Other key places for thermometers and barometers are at the level of the plants and higher in the room. So easily it could be 10 degrees cooler at the floor than it is at the ceiling. This 10 degrees will cost you ounces of bud. The ideal temperature range for indoor growth is 72 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit. The ideal thermometer is a day-night or maximum minimum type that measures how low the temperature dips at night or how high it reaches during the day. At night, the temperature can drop 5 to 10 degrees with little noticeable effect on growth rate. The temperature should not drop more than 15 degrees Fahrenheit, or excessive humidity and mold might become problems. Look at the tips, the fringe of this plant here. They're transpiring to keep cool. If they're having trouble staying cool, you're going to see this outward edge of the plant turning up like this. If the temperature lowered just a little bit, then this would go away. And it also means you're going to need to water this garden every day just to keep it cool. Relative humidity is the ratio between the amount of moisture in the air and the greatest amount of moisture the air could hold at the same temperature. The higher the temperature, the more moisture the air can hold. The lower the temperature, the less moisture the air can hold. When the temperature drops, the humidity rises. It's that simple. Measure relative humidity with a hygrometer, an extremely important instrument that will save you and your garden much frustration and fungi. What we've got is 52% humidity in this grow room right now, which is an excellent humidity level for this to stay. Ideally, we'd like to have approximately 50% humidity during flowering and approximately 60 to 65% during vegetative growth. Humidity can be increased with a humidifier by spraying water into the air or by letting a bucket of water evaporate in the room, and can be decreased with a dehumidifier. Circulating the air within the room is incredibly important. The leaf can use all of the carbon dioxide in the zone right around it, and CO2 works for plants just like oxygen works for people. Well, what that means is the more CO2 you give a plant, the faster they'll grow. They can use 5 times more CO2 than naturally occurs in the air. It's very funny, but this little area here can have all kinds of carbon dioxide around it, and then within a short time, all of that carbon dioxide is used, and if it's not fluttering, moving, no new air comes in to replace that carbon dioxide. What we have here is a wall-mounted oscillating fan. It looks like about an 18-inch fan, and what it does is it oscillates or turns back and forth and supplies circulation air around the room. And notice it's just above the canopy of the plants. You need a minimum of 1 fan like this for every 100 square feet or 10 by 10 room. But preferably you could use 2 or 3. Now if we take a look at this clone here, just last week the grower came in and stripped all the lower leaves off of it. The smaller buds down here really weren't getting very much light because the canopy is so dense. So it really didn't produce very much dope down here. The ventilation moves up through the plants like this and aerates everything from the top and the side, so it really lowers the probability of a fungal disease, and it also makes life pretty tough for spider mites, which are one of the biggest pests in the garden. And then the third thing is you can look under the garden and see exactly what's going on, so you can tell if there's any problems down here. Always make sure to have plastic blades on your fan.
You don't want to get cut by one of those blades.
No.
That can be nasty. So again, Jorge Cervantes has had all of his videos taken down. And so we are protesting YouTube taking all these marijuana channels off from Jorge Cervantes and Greenhouse Seeds, Marijuana Television, and hundreds of others out there that will remain unmentioned right now. So stay tuned, and Jorge will be on the show here in the next few weeks. We have someone at our microphone. Go right ahead, John.
I just got a question about the height of our hothouses, and say I have a hothouse that's 12 feet tall, and assuming I can grow plants that tall or taller. Well, let's say I got a hothouse that's 14 feet tall in the city. Is there like any height restrictions on hothouses in the city?
It's different from city to city, and I know there are other rules county to county. There's no rules regarding that statewide. I've looked at a lot of different greenhouses over the past years, and obviously for cannabis, if you have them taller, our cannabis plants grow taller than just about any other plant you'll grow in a greenhouse. But I can't specifically respond to the height restrictions. I would say, the bigger you build them, the more it costs. So I would build it as big as you can, because you can grow 12, 14, 15 foot tall plants in a season here.
Right. I just didn't want to get in trouble with my city. I guess I'll have to check.
You'd have to check with your city's planning department, and they could tell you specifically what the rules are in your neighborhood, because it could be different in different areas and zoned differently. So, one thing we have right here that's been popping up on the screen that we haven't talked about recently is our hemp flame of freedom. This is hemp oil burning a hemp wick. This is next week's wick, and this shows that hemp is an illuminant and can be used as a fuel. It will power any diesel engine. In fact, the whole reason marijuana was made illegal was to suppress hemp fuel and hemp fiber, and to make them much more expensive so we don't compete with petrochemical fuels and fossil fuels, or compete with cotton and synthetic fibers. So that is a large reason they made up the whole marijuana myth. Then right here is hempcrete. This is hemp fiber added with powdered lime or limestone, and it turns into a material that's stronger and lighter than concrete. So this is something we have out here on each show that I like to point out. So Eric, we were talking a little bit about hops.
Yeah.
Hops is used for what?
For beer. I'm
Right.
really frustrated with this right now. So okay, I enjoy beer every now and again. Okay, I ain't gonna lie. But why, as medical patients, do we need to record numbers of our cannabis from seed to sale or whatnot? Yet hops
Or if
can,
you're not selling, if you're a medical patient.
why do we have to track our medicine? Yet hops that's only made for beer, known for harming people, drunk driving, whatnot, gets to be freely put out there. I don't get that.
Yeah. And the system of tracking that patients are required to follow if they're growing for 3 or more patients now has changed. Instead of turning in a report once a month on the Oregon Health Authority's website, I knew when they added authority in their name that there was going to be a problem. They wanted to
They're taking
emphasize
the power.
that they have power. But now you have to pay $500 a year to opt into their, it's called metric system, METRC is an acronym for this system. You have to buy, and then you have to report daily now. Instead of reporting once a month, you've got to report this daily. And if you don't, you can lose your grower card and not be able to grow. Same as if you don't pay that $200 extra fee on top of your registration fee. So this obviously is not helping patients, and we need to help patients.
Right.
And that's why we established this program. I'm sure if you ask the average voter out there, they have no idea that this is going on, and they would support making this easier and cheaper for patients. So we have to educate the public, which is what we're doing right now, and educate our legislators, those folks that are running in their primary this week and will be on the ballot in November. We need more people who are on our side.
And it got me thinking, even with tobacco, we don't track our tobacco. It causes cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, it doesn't, it's just mind-blowing.
They don't track tobacco plants and tobacco farms. You get allotments, so you're limited in the amount and where you can grow it according to, your state tobacco commission, I think. And, most of it's grown in North Carolina and Virginia and for here in the United States, and some in South Carolina, a few other southern states. But I agree. Well, we are ticking off the time again. If you have any need for a medical marijuana permit anywhere in the USA and you would like to find a doctor who can help you with any of these conditions, we have doctors who are standing by that we can refer you to. Just give us a call at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. Also, if you haven't realized, we have our banner turned around here for our logo for the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation. There's an Israeli Canadian oil company called Adira Energy. That's ADIRA. That's taken over our business, based in a lie and spending millions of dollars on attorneys.
Hurting people.
Yeah, and hurting people, including my family and me.
And my family.
And your family and thousands of families. So I urge you, I trademarked the name Empower Clinics, and they have stolen that too. They even claim they own my name, Paul Stanford. They own that, according to this Israeli Canadian oil company. So do not visit Empower Clinics. Wherever they're at, mainly here in the Northwest, but anywhere, do not visit Empower Clinics. It is run by a lying, cheating, international energy corporation. They don't like that I talk about hemp oil here every week, and they come out to take me out. And that's why we have this banner turned around, because they were able to get a judge in a preliminary injunction to order that we could not use our own banner and our own logo and our own name. And so to find out more about that, give us a call at that number there on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. We're down to less than 3 minutes left here. Do you have anything you want to say in closing, Eric?
Quick gathering coming up June 30th, July 1st. Hemp Aid for Hemp Stock. Going to be vendors, musical acts. It's going to be.
Right.
It's on private grounds, Oregon City. It's going to be a blast.
It's on like 300 acres or something.
300
right?
acres, private grounds. If you all remember Kelly Point.
This will be better than that, I think.
It's going to be better than Kelly Point.
Because we won't have the Port of Portland harassing us and charging us.
Our people putting on our event.
So Hemp Stock this year will be July 1st, June 30th and July 1st. For more information, you can call that number there on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. I know we've got Real One and
we got
Pony Boy,
Los
and
Marijuanas. We got Portland's own Bad Habitat. John Cornett's
is
coming
bound
to
to
play.
be there.
We got Timmy coming in. It's a full lineup of nothing but fun. So it's going to be off the hook.
Next week, we will have Madeline Martinez from Normal here to talk about our letter writing campaign. We're going to go out on another great song by John Cornett. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, John. Thank you, viewers. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.
Like that.
I like murder ganja. Ganja, I like to grow murder ganja. Stick it in the ground, water it down, murder ganja. Woohoo! Woohoo! Ganja, I love murder ganja. Ganja, I love to use murder ganja. For food and medicine, prohibition must end murder ganja. Woohoo! Use cannabis or murder ganja.